Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
Hey everyone, we have a great show today. It's just us three in here today.
It's just us today.
And as we're getting started, please, if you're watching us live, drop an L in the comments down below, and we'll be happy to call out our top 3 people that are watching this. And if you're watching the replay, type R down below. We just want to see who's watching.
Yes, sir.
And if you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit that bell, leave us a comment. We want to see who's watching on there. And on iTunes, leave us a review, subscribe. We want to get back in that top 50 rankings.
Yeah.
So
We're a little competitive.
Derek, who plays our intro song? Do you know?
I think that song is actually from a place called Jingle Punks.
Oh, I meant like the band.
I can go find it.
I
yeah.
like the song. We gotta get tickets.
Not exactly
next
sure who
time
did
those
it, though,
guys are
yeah.
in town.
Yeah, we should have those guys on.
Yeah,
talk about how excited they are to be our
live
theme
performance
song.
here in studio
Do they even know?
of our intro song.
They're on one of the top-rated shows.
Yeah.
So if you can read our description, it's a what the hell Rosey type of week.
Yeah.
So we were talking yesterday, trying to figure out how to make sure we're still providing top value content to our listeners and what direction we want to roll this into, and it went into how are we providing or showing value to our clientels or even potential clients before they hire us. And Matt threw out some random word of client-centric, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? So, we're going to talk a little bit about client-centric versus transactional, and this is just kind of the problems that we're having in our business today.
Yeah. It's been pretty good, though, man. The spring market's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I will say if you have a lot of problems in your business, like the emotional crap that we deal with, that's probably because you're doing a lot of business, and like not every transaction is easy.
And it comes
the problems you don't want to have are the ones where you don't have anybody on the phone calling and yelling at you every once in a while, because that means that no one's calling you, period, and you're probably broke.
And your one deal you have on the board falls apart and you want to jump off a bridge.
Yeah.
I think most of the problems that specifically like the ones that are actively happening, as the show goes live, those come from a place of wanting to provide a good experience and awesome value, though. Yeah. Right? Like most of the stuff that ends up getting me pulled into a deal more often than not is when I feel like I'm doing the right thing and it's either out of my control due to some other part of the transaction, or it's we really did drop the ball and we broke some eggs, and you're either writing a check to fix it and you feel like an ass, or it's not really your fault, it's just part of the transaction, but they're twisted off, right? Like it almost always has to do with the client experience getting more out of whack than it normally should.
And this is go ahead.
And before we dive into that, we've got to honor these people.
Oh yeah.
So Tanner, the first one dropping an L. Thank you, Tanner. Tanner's always watching.
He's always watching.
He's trying to steal all my knowledge and take it back to her group. We've got Jennifer. Kelderman.
Nice.
And Heather Good.
Yes.
And then the runners up is Tom Force.
Yeah.
And then Matt Kelderman is watching some.
I am watching.
Yes.
That's how we get our views up.
That's right. So guys, thank you for tuning in. Share this out. Tag somebody in it. And then of course, Lady following up on the back end with an L. So, let's jump back into it. Yeah, I mean, you were gonna drop something profound.
Always do. I was gonna tell you guys, I didn't know if you saw that my shoes were matching the trim on my shirt today.
He was super excited about this morning and morning meeting.
What about
everyone
my
on the show?
socks?
Ooh,
This is a gambler sock today.
Very nice.
I'm dressed like a 16-year-old in high school. My shirt's too big. My pants are like some soft corduroy situation. It's very comfortable.
No, but so when we're in those tough deals where we know on our end there's not a lot we can do.
Yeah.
Right. Not that there's not a lot we can do, but whatever is the causation or the catalyst of our sellers or buyers or clients' frustration, it is not coming from us. We're still taking the brunt of it. Right. So give me an example, and you don't have to be specific. Give me an example of a situation that you've been in like that, and how do you handle it so that you still, save face with your clients and they still feel like you're doing your fiduciary duty and taking good care of them.
For me, it's a super delicate dance because I have a tendency not to want to sell out the person who's really kind of dropping the ball, right. Especially when it's you know, every time these transactions happen where they get completely out of control, or you have that deal that falls apart for some insane reason, there were usually a couple things at the beginning that were normal transactional F-ups that you just let slide a little bit because you're like, if I freaked out about this every time, it'd be a shit show, right? Yeah. So you end up giving a little bit of rope on almost every transaction anyways, because I would ask for the same thing. Dude, for me, it's staying highly, like in high communication with the clients.
Right.
And letting them know exactly what's going on. I like working with my preferred partners because specifically like the lender that I use a lot of the times, if there's something going on the lending side, guess who's making that phone call? Not me.
Yeah.
That is your problem. Go fix it, right? I recommended you to help me take things off my plate.
Right.
So a little bit of it is redirecting that vendor to the client to have them explain exactly what the situation is.
But let me dig on that because we do that a lot as well, right? So if someone else drops the ball, we want them to own up to it.
Yeah.
But what happens when that client still comes back to you? You're still having to, you know, we're having to eat that elephant, right? Where we can't be like, well, the lender called you. It's their
No, and I think you're a shitty agent if you just blame it on the lender too, right? Like I don't think you blame it on the lender, but the side conversation is you tell the client, hey, let me go figure out what's happening. You call the lender and be like, dude, what in the hell is going on? I need you to make a phone call and explain this to them because they're freaking out, and this is on y'all's end, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's extreme ownership in all cases, right? You're not going to be in control of everything, but your seller or your buyer or whatever hearing from you that it's out of your control is not what they want to hear.
100%.
I mean, it does not matter to them, right? What your clients want to hear is that you've got their back no matter what. I mean, right now, I literally just got a text message before the show that our team dropped the ball a little bit with a client that I have, right? Was in no way my fault whatsoever. I immediately texted back that I'm going to call him as soon as we are done with this, and I'm going to take care of it.
Yep.
Right. It just doesn't matter if it's your fault, right? And it really doesn't even matter if it's something you can control. At least do your best to make it look like you are a part of this and you've got their back no matter what. I will say that you want it all to be as objective as possible and as much on you as possible. Yep. And where I think that's really, really important for a lot of agents, where a lot of deals fall through, is during like repair negotiations and stuff like that. One of the biggest tendencies that buyers have one of the biggest tendencies that agents have is when a seller doesn't like what a buyer is asking for in a repair negotiation, the agent wants to deflect that anger onto the buyer and make them the bad guy, right? Oh, yeah, I know they're asking for a lot, this and that, blah, blah, whatever, right? Like, so many deals have fallen apart.
That shit will blow deals up.
Oh, deals have fallen apart. Deals that are fundamentally about tons of money and moving people on to the next chapter of their lives in a very fundamental way have fallen apart over $100 fucking air conditioner service. You know what I mean? Because that was just the last straw and the seller was so mad at the buyer or vice versa. That's normally because the agent didn't take enough onus on themselves to help everybody be objective through it all.
Yeah.
And it became just a total pissing contest, right?
It's letting their emotions get in it.
100%. That's emotional intelligence all day.
I mean, I know you're having this. You know, I said I'm having a great day, but it just takes me back a couple weeks ago, where one of my agents, you know, it was kind of a hypothetical question. Not that we went through this, but of submitting an offer without a contingency, even though they were selling their other home. And the agent on the other side just got so emotionally involved and attached. This is not our house, right? This is not our money. Our fiduciary is to protect them and have their best interests in mind, which at the end of the day, if it's selling for top dollar, then figure out how to get the job done. Instead of saying, we'll just go back on the market. No, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me, unless you have a backup offer that's ready to close the same day we are, you're going to have your clients wait longer. That's going to cost them potentially more money.
Right.
They've got to go through another inspection, which the number one reason why contracts fall out is over repair negotiations.
100%, yeah.
So you're going to go back on that and have them hold that even longer? That makes no sense.
Then you might have the same problem again next contract.
Yeah, when you've got a ready freaking buyer right here, and I've never understood that. That's one thing that makes us different, even all three of us, is look, once it's under contract, we want to find a way to get the deal done as long as it's legal and ethical, right? But we're here to get houses sold, not to be like, nope, that doesn't make sense for them. They're really upset. Well, no, our job is to be emotionally detached from this.
100%. Emotional intelligence, I think, is one of the more important things you can have after you progress past just the ability to keep your head above water. right, and like stay in the industry.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is the very next thing.
It's about finding that balance between fighting your clients' battles for them and helping them remain objective, right? That's not to say that there's never going to be a situation where your client is justifiably upset and the contract's going to fall through. That does happen sometimes. More often than not, most contracts that fall through are because of emotions, and usually they're pretty regrettable afterwards.
I think that's one of the biggest pieces of value that you can bring any client is staying emotionally uninvolved, right? You being the conduit. I always tell people, I look at the real estate agent in the middle as somebody pictured as a loop, right? And you're just holding all these strings at different levels of tension at different points, right? As we move throughout the contract, I can let go of certain strings, right? We're through the repairs, we're through the inspection, we're through the appraisal, we're through the financing, whatever it is. We got the HOA docs back, we delivered the seller's disclosure. All that shit that deals can fall apart over if you just don't deliver a document.
Right.
Like that's what your job is supposed to do. You are the ringleader in the middle of the circus trying to keep everybody in line. Right? And closing day is the day you get paid, but your life should be kind of busy. Even if you have some leverage, you should still, there should still be some attention paid to your transactions, especially until you get repairs and through the appraisal.
Well, and this kind of goes into what you've been experiencing, some of what you even talked about earlier before the show started of you've got a little bit of a closing going haywire, and the buyer's agent is nowhere to be found. They don't offer any solution, but they want to. Hell, when it closes, I guarantee you they want their paycheck.
Yeah, well, that's what drives me crazier than anything, right? And I'll give you an example. And I won't get specific, but we are in a deal right now that looks like there's a 50-50 chance it may or may not even fall through right now. I've already come out of my own pocket to make it happen, right? Trying to work with the other agent to make it happen, and I'm just getting nothing in return. And at that point, you're not being a fiduciary at all. And this is probably one of the biggest things that drives me crazy about the real estate industry is when you talk to anybody that are sort of on the level and higher than the three of us, usually those are going to be the easiest agents to work with in the world. Because they understand they don't get paid unless this thing gets to closing, right? For the most part, our transaction coordinators are going to handle just about everything. I'm going to be communicating with my clients, but the other agent's probably not hearing from me through the transaction process unless something's going wrong. And if it does, they're only hearing from me because I'm trying to create a solution with them. We are on the same team. Yep. Whenever agents try to become lawyers, right? Whenever agents try to become
inspectors,
contractors, or just leaders of their own little fucking miniature army who is trying to battle against your army in some epic war that's not productive.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to get paid if this deal falls through, and if agents don't act like they are colleagues trying to find solutions to obstacles that come up, like get out of this industry because you're not like go to fucking law school. And go do that instead, because your little real estate license that it took you 3 months to get does not give you the right to be an asshole to everybody and try and defend the honor of your clients or whatever. Be objective, advise your clients properly, and work with the other side to get a deal done, because that's the only way your clients are going to be happy either. Nobody's happy when a deal falls through.
It's very rarely in anybody's financial interest for the deal to fall through. No. Like even we're talking about one, like, the contract price has been decided. Every day that a house sits on the market after it's under contract is just lost money to the seller, right?
You're not appreciating,
So there's just, there's so many reasons to keep a deal together, and it's almost always in everybody's best interest financially.
Yep.
So with that being said, client-centric versus transactional, which one's better?
I think client-centric can get kind of expensive sometimes. I bet you I've probably cut more checks than most real estate agents would for just miscellaneous stuff, get deals done. Hypothetically speaking, there's scenarios where, I heard a story about an agent leaving leased security equipment behind in a listing afterwards. Buyer took possession. Buyer went and got new security equipment or a new security system, wanted to keep the equipment because it was a discount for them. Sellers are now a new house, want to go get their shit back. Guess what? You can't.
Yeah.
So what do we have to do? Well, I kind of feel responsible if I'm the agent for not giving them a heads up to take that stuff out.
Yeah, that's on us. That's like
you're supposed to advise them of that. So what do? Cut a $900 check to go buy security equipment back from this jackass who wouldn't give it back to you because that's cheaper than spending the $1,400 on this other side.
Go get a new one,
And then you go hand your people a box of security equipment and you save them $1,400.
Yeah.
Because the relationship is worth it. That kind of stuff to me is super client centric.
So why do you think transactional? Because the Good Home team would fall in that transactional category that maybe is morphing into client-centric, but in the beginning we were definitely transactional. I'm sure that we don't have to rehash my story. But why do you think transactional gets such a bad name then?
I think it just feels impersonal probably, right? Like I bet you track all your numbers. I'm sure you could see a huge uptick in referrals when you all kind of stop grinding out new business. So it's cheaper. I mean, warm referral business is sweet.
Definitely cheaper. Last 4 years, our number one source of business, past clients, repeaters.
This is a huge difference.
But what I would say is there's nothing wrong with either one of them.
No.
Right? There's not a wrong direction to go in the business, because I will tell you, if I was client-centric in the beginning, I wouldn't be in this business anymore. Right? Because, Brian and I are very similar in terms of we have our close relationships here. I don't have much more room to add another person in.
They say your circle's supposed to be small anyway.
Yes,
So.
yeah, I keep it very small. But with that, we do, once you hit a certain point on transactional, there's only so many more new people. It's like a pyramid scheme.
Yep.
There's only so many more people I can pull in to keep paying the top. Right? And so then you have to go and start loving on the people that already know, like, and trust you within that world. So you can still be transactional while being client-centric during that transaction, which is what we talked about yesterday.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's finding the balance between the two. The reason that transactional type businesses get a bad name is because, or is from the people that do not leverage properly and don't hand off the right things, right? Like, my clients wouldn't want me to be entirely client-centric, meaning my clients wouldn't want me to handle every part of the transaction. So I'll fuck half of it up. That's just right. It's
and
not
my clients could benefit from me being a little bit more transactional, a little more buttoned up, a little more process oriented.
Your transaction coordinator out there could.
Well, and I think that's the greatest thing about what the conversation we're having right now is it literally has been transactional, relational, right? Mm-hmm. I'm starting to get some transactional type processes in my life right now, and I was telling Nick before, dude, I want every agent out there to hear this. Up until a month ago, I was still delivering all my own signs, taking all my own measurements, delivering key boxes, all of that stuff, right? That's now been eliminated from my world. That is the coolest shit that has ever happened in my real estate career.
It feels great.
I sold my first house 6 years ago yesterday. Right? In those 6 years, I have never had anybody do that. And in the past 30 days, that has entered my life, and it is glorious. How much free time that you get back. Not even free time. How much more efficient you can be with your work time.
Well, and that's what it is, right? Is because if your idea of building a transactional business is taking everything but lead generation off of your plate, then you're doing it wrong, right? Our business is transactional in the sense that we don't do the detailed stuff for our clients, as in, like delivering checks, putting signs out, taking measurements of their homes, right? We have a staff that does that. When my clients need advice, they're coming to me directly, and I am giving them my 100% undivided attention at all times, right? I have the time and ability to do that for all of my clients because I am transactional, or we are transactional in the persuasions that we can be, right? We run a very efficient system that gives us some of our time back so that when our clients call us and need us, we're there for them 100% of the time. But can you imagine if our clients needed us and there was a sticky situation or needed advice or just genuinely wanted to talk about real real estate related matters, and we were too busy driving out to another listing to take photos on our own, or put a sign out, right? Or deliver an option or an earnest money check, right? Or that type of stuff. It's very, very difficult to run a scalable business that way. Because we're transactional, we can be more client-centric when it matters.
So transactional means that we're somewhat better at leverage.
Sure.
Which is perfect for today. So if you're watching this live, today is admin day, right?
Nice.
So administrative day. So, thank you, lady,
Yeah.
right? And Jennifer, Stephanie
Yeah.
Stone, and Duncan O'Donnell on my team there. So definitely appreciate you guys. And I would be lost without my people. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, ask my wife, and I'm sure she'll drop a comment below, that I am the worst buyer's agent there is, right? She threatens to go to Elizabeth or other people because I'm horrible at that. That's not my strengths. Now, get me in a house to figure out how to sell it and what that value and what the strategy is. I can do that all day long. But, Heather brings up, first off, Lo Hornbuckle was watching. Studs. Shout out to Lo. He is the assisted living king, if I could say that 3 times fast. And Heather brings up, she's saying with the right business partners, you can be both transactional and client-centric. And Jennifer says in here, transactional is more black and white, while relational is gray. So, definitely definitely there's rooms for both businesses, right? So to make it scalable, whether you're like Matt is client centric all the way, if he didn't bring on, the partnership or even, expanding with her group, then he would be limited in how much more growth he could have.
100%.
In my world, there's only so many people so many expireds or for sale owners we can call.
Yep.
Well, we start losing that efficiency, scale. So then we go back into hitting being better at client centric to get our referral based business up, and that's the only way we can scale.
Yep, exactly.
So you got to focus on one or the other first, in my opinion. I don't think you can truly focus on both.
Yeah, I don't really know that you can develop because then you're sort of half in, half out on both sides. If you don't really focus on one or the other up front, you're going to have a hard time building both. Like if Matt was really, really focused on systems in the beginning, he just wouldn't have had the time to build the sort of relationships that he have that have become,
they would have all crumbled under the weight of their shittiness.
Yeah, exactly. At the same time, you would have just quit real estate because you would have had to talk to too many people in the beginning, and neither of us really want to do that.
No. Yeah. I mean, even today, that's a struggle.
Yeah.
And I understand the value. We just had our an Easter egg client event. And even then, I mean, I love doing it. I love the value that it provides. But I'm going to tell you, after I'm done, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have to be on. That's not it. I can't let my hair down on that type. I can't, we're not dropping F-bombs at the Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
That's
just here.
Yeah, just
wait until the podcast that goes out to thousands of people nationwide every week.
But the people love it. I mean, the kids were having fun. The parents appreciated it, and so thus we see the value in that it provides. But it's not something I want to do every weekend.
Right.
Well, and agents really need to be honest with themselves about what value is too, right? Like value is no longer the ability of the access to information. It's super high level market competence. It's doing things that other agents aren't doing. It's not gimmicky bullshit, right? Like people aren't going to pay you more money for whatever cheese ass system you have or whatever thing you convince them that you can do to save them more money. All that stuff's out there, right? We work with a brokerage that has a really great marketing mortgage model to help people save money, right? Yep. There's all kinds of cool things out there. You're not coming up with something new. I recently saw a post about I don't even know how far down the road I want to get on this because I don't know what you're allowed to say, and I don't want all the real estate agent lawyers to jump up in the comment section. But at the end of the day, there is a typical commission that is traditional for markets, right? Like whatever that is, it changes from market to market. Who cares, right? But going into a situation and blanket attempting to charge people more when your value isn't really that you sell real estate, your value is that you came up with some line of bullshit about why whatever you're selling is better. I think that stuff fundamentally drives me crazy because I am fully aware of how the industry sees us and how the consumer sees us, right? And when there's agents out there, there was an agent I knew years ago that used to pull some squirrely stuff with commissions too, right? Those people make us look like the greasy dudes on television. Yep. And I hate that so much. And the one thing that I think is the greatest about this thinning out of our industry is it makes it really hard for the people who just don't get it to survive because there's not enough deals for them. Yep. And people like us are just taking more.
100%. I mean, that's why I think our agents were up 76% in the first quarter this year, something like that. It's fantastic. The market's flattening out, but we do things the right way. Yep. And I think if you've got to use gimmicky stuff to try and get, especially when it comes to, like you said, we there's maybe things we can and can't say about what we make on a deal. I will say if you are providing the same service and telling people that you're providing better service, you're a fucking liar.
Yeah.
And and there's a particular side of the transaction that you need to be on where you can only provide a certain level of service.
Yeah.
That's the buy side.
Yep.
Right? You're not marketing the home. You're not doing anything better than anybody. If you find the home that they like and you get it to closing, you've done the exact same thing as everybody else is capable of doing. If you're charging more for that, you're an idiot.
Yep.
Or your clients might be idiots, or you're a scam artist in some way.
Sure. And if you're a snake oil salesman, you're only going to last for a certain amount of time.
Sure.
And look, you'll get people to come try to figure out what you're doing because it sounds sexy to make a little bit more money.
It sounds like magic pilly, like all this stuff that people are selling to real estate agents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we're towing the line on this. We can't go in too deep, but I mean, showing value. Something that just popped up is like, when we're talking about this is the value in real estate agents is the person.
100%.
It's that agent, right? And so if you have no experience, that's why joining a team is the best option to go with, regardless of the commission splits and what you think you're giving up or what you're getting.
Yep.
But you're not going to be able to show that value because someone that's hiring me is getting the expertise of selling thousands of homes, investing in over $80 million worth of real estate investment projects that also knows how to sell them. We have over 200 rental properties. Not many people can compete on that in terms of that expertise level. That's what they're hiring.
And that's such a big thing, too, because people, I mean, when Matt and I went into business together, that was something we were very honest about. And we always have been. It's like, I don't care whose name's on the door, honestly. If I'm being real honest and selfish about myself, I care how much money's in my bank account or on my profit and loss statement at the end of the month. But obviously, all three of us talk to tons of agents every year, right? Recruiting wise, people that are thinking about either getting into real estate, maybe joining a team. We talk to people about how to expand their business, this and that. One thing that I think people come back to way too much is their own brand too early in their career, right? Now, you are your brand. Everybody is their own personal brand in this day and age for sure. But people adhering to, I want to really protect my brand, or I want to be my own brand, or this or that. If your brand isn't doing anything, then it's not worth anything, right? Don't sacrifice the amount of knowledge you can learn. Don't sacrifice the level of service you can provide. Don't sacrifice the amount of deals you can do and production you can do just because you want to be the person that has your name on the sign, right? And I told this to an agent yesterday, who's most likely going to be joining our team. Very sweet girl, but one of her objections was, I like to be an individual because I like having my own brand. And I said, great. Well, if your brand and my brand sat down on a listing appointment, I'd destroy you every time.
Yep.
So your brand sucks compared to mine, right? Like, I don't mean to be mean, but all I have to do to outdo your brand is say, here's your production from last year. My team sold $330 million in real estate last year, right? Which brand do you like better? And so, yeah, I get it. Everybody wants to be the CEO of their own company, and that sounds really sexy and all that type of stuff. What's really sexy is building a life that's based on your vision and doing it with great people and having freedom down the road, right? I don't care whose name's on the door.
And it's letting the ego go.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? We all have egos in this business, but the reason that I had to start my own team is back then there wasn't a lot of great teams to join. That was, I interviewed teams and they all freaking sucked.
Yeah.
That there was no value provided. And now the value, if I was getting in the business today, the team route is the way to go. And not that I'm just trying to promote, hey, go join a team, because you could probably, maybe, there's a long shot, but you could probably go and build a team yourself.
There's new teams starting all the time. There's agents out there who grow up in it and figure it out and whatever. But
they're doing it to get their names on the signs and everything
and that's
else.
We've got to agree, if you haven't come to the conclusion at this point with the way that the industry is headed, that the mega team is the business of the future, you've got to admit it to yourself. And if you're not going to build it, you should at least join it.
Well, we talked about this before. How hard is it to really, the team thing isn't even the desire to build a team. It's the desire to build something that creates income that you don't necessarily have to show up to work for every day. Mm-hmm. That's so far away. Like, you might as well join a team for 5 years and then go start that. And you'd still be further along on the path you would if you tried to do it by yourself 100%. For most people.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily believe that, starting the team is really for the leverage part, because you have 100%. More buyers, right? Because if you don't like working buyers, that's not the reason to start a team. Just refer them out and get a 50% referral fee.
Yep, right.
You can find agents in your office that will do that all day long.
Right.
But don't just start it to think, all right, I'm going to get paid while I'm not doing any work.
Right.
Because the minute the agents think you're not doing any work, they're not doing any work.
Yeah.
Right. It's I would make more money net wise without having a team.
Yeah.
Right. Now, my agents would make more money net wise if staying on the team, because they can leverage out their activities to the stuff that we're paying for.
Yep.
Right. So, it's more advantageous to be the team member than the team owner, in my opinion.
100%. We talk about that very candidly with anybody that we sit down with that's a big producer that is concerned about splits or things like that when coming on the team. I'll be very candid with them. I say, look, I make the lowest split of anybody on the team. Right. We're happy to run at 40 to 45% profitability.
Yeah.
Our agents make more than that.
Yeah.
So you're going to make more than us for every deal that you do. We're paying for all the systems and you guys are doing all the production. And ostensibly, our agents could make way more money than us at the end of the year. Like, it's simple math, right?
And they should.
I think that's the case on most teams.
Yeah, that's how we grow. We only grow if we make a lot of people more successful than we do, and it's a pretty basic business principle too. It's something that sounds really good on a meme, like you'll get whatever you want if you help enough other people get whatever they. But it's true in real life.
It's true.
Dude. I don't know why I did that voice.
Here's the thing that they don't tell you that I think a lot of people should know. Also, part of building a team is you become reliant upon people too. Like, it's an incredibly vulnerable position, because if all those people leave, sure, you could go back into production all on your own, right, and probably figure it out. And it's not like you're going to have to quit real estate tomorrow,
right?
But still, right, like to have something that you built crumple down around you, or you build something big like Adam Hergenrother has, right?
Yep.
You can probably lose some people in that huge machine and not too bad, but there are probably people in there that if you lose, that's a real problem, right? So that it's scary to get too big too.
Yep.
100%.
So,
yeah, but you can't play, what Gary Keller will say, either you stay small or go big.
Yeah.
Because the in-between is where it really dies.
Yeah, the toughest part is when you've got, you're just starting out. You've got an assistant or one buyer's agent or two buyer's agents, right?
Yeah.
And then you lose one of them, and 50% of your team's production is gone.
Here's the thing is you can always just jump back into production and start kicking ass again, though.
You can.
That's the thing.
You're
If
more
you do
nimble.
get to that point, you can. I mean, all of us are actively in doing that, right?
Yeah.
Like my role's just recently changed dramatically to director of sales, where I'm in charge of a lot of production now, which having leverage allows me to provide more value. I think that's the biggest thing that the individual agent struggles to offer, is they just don't have the amount of stuff. Like, you can't as an individual agent. And if somebody wants this real personable, folksy experience, that's fine, but you can get that with a high-level agent on a team who's highly leveraged, because their only job is to be in relationship with you.
Yep.
And by the way, they also sell 50 or 60 houses a year, so they know how to get shit sold too.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to like doing like 2 or 3 a quarter, which is what the average agent, 7 a year?
6 or 7 a year.
6 or 7 a year?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're doing that, that is what the average agent does. I have also done that amount. That's not a livable wage either, right? Like, you're not retired on 7 transactions a year. And nobody got into real estate to do 7 a year.
No.
Regardless of what they tell us when we call them.
And now with stepping more into the director of sales role, right? And then we actually really haven't brought up this change. So do we have a breaking news?
We talk about
Sound.
this like
We do
everybody
talk
just
about it.
we need
knows
Derek,
what's going on in
Derek
LA.
to do that breaking news deal.
Yeah, dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Brian Force and Matt Kelderman have
We have joined forces.
yes.
There's a pun in there.
The joke
for
has
you
been
guys.
used so many times already.
I'd be happy to let you guys explain it, because this is not my deal.
Yeah, man. I mean, here's the thing. I'll explain my part of it, which is very, very minimal, and I'll allow him to explain the rest of it. I'm good at some stuff. I'm not good at other stuff. The part of real estate that I like is not the go recruit agents and grow team part of it. It's the relationship stuff. But I also didn't like not having leverage and wasting so much of my life and never having Saturdays and Sundays to myself. So it was just a really unique opportunity for 2 guys at the exact same point of pain to have a conversation that made some sense, and here we are. I mean, obviously it was more his call, but
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's really the same conversation from my point of view. I think that we were trying to continue to grow our businesses with the complete opposite skill sets, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas you want to be more in production and have an unbelievable amount to pour into agents. Finding that leverage and that operational side was never your strength, and I have almost the exact opposite skill set. I want to create systems and an operational foundation that is able to scale and serve more and more clients at a really, really high level. I'm just not really passionate about being front-facing. I never have been. And so it allows, but where we were both limited in our ability to break through the next level of our business, that ceiling, is that to get to that next level, I was still having to do a lot of production to continue to fuel my expansion.
Yep.
Which I didn't want to do, and I was getting burnt out on. And so I think kind of the opposite, but similar pain on your end. And so it's been almost a month now, and it's made nothing but perfect sense to us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and that's just, I think, a learning lesson for a lot of people out there is that both of us were at a point in our career, and still are at a point in our career where, like, things were still good, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, food was never getting taken off our table. Like, nobody was saying, we can't go on vacation this year because funds are tight. Like, we're fundamentally passionate about seeing things through and realizing the vision for our lives. And part of that means a big part of that is not being too humble to realize when a partnership makes sense, or you need help in your life, or there's an opportunity that you don't want to pass up. And a lot of that is just having some humility, right? Like, I gladly strip my name off of the door of my office, and it's not up there anymore, right?
Well, you didn't have an office.
Yeah, out of the room I was stealing.
We do still have the mini basketball hoops so we can do dunks.
We
on
do,
it, though.
Yeah.
right? And Matt did the same thing a long time ago, and that's never been a huge point of pride for us. We always just wanted to put ourselves in a situation where we continue to grow and have great people around us that would hold us accountable for that growth and continue to push us to the next level. And so, if that's where you're at in your business, don't ever lack the humility to make a decision that's right for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're not just talking shit about joining teams. Like, we're literally looking for active ways to grow in other businesses together, right? Like, the three of us. Here's the thing that happens with a moderate amount of success, and this just recently happened to me, is it puts you in a bigger room where you see kind of what people are able to do at the higher level. When you are the littlest fish in a larger pond, it's a really unique perspective. I am barely into the group I want to be in locally of real estate agents, right? Like, just over, like if there's too much water in the pond, I'm going to be the first motherfucker that floats right back out. But here's the thing that's cool about that is it puts you in a really cool room where you start hearing higher level conversations. The podcast has allowed us to come on the show and have on cool guests and ask the questions we want to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So upping our knowledge level right now it's going through the roof.
Yep.
And it's also, like you said, it's humbling. It strips you of all of your delusions about what you want this to be and really what the possibilities are. And like I said, it made a lot of sense. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I love you, bro.
I love you, buddy.
Well, the way this show evolved, just like all of our other shows, is that we didn't go in the direction we thought we were going.
No.
So
we got through the top third of that paper that says what we're going to talk about, and then we took a hard left turn right off this table.
Which I can keep it going, right? So this is all about reducing our egos.
Yeah.
So if we can touch on that point, you had mentioned you were in that recruiting appointment. They're like, well, I'd like to be an individual because my name, and it's not even I'm going to crush you at a listing appointment, because I do use that too when I'm talking to people. But I'm like, let's just compare bank accounts.
Yeah.
Agent to agent, not even investments or whatever. Let's just look at it. Apple to apples comparison. And then let me compare my agents to your business.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you hands down that my agents are even with our commission splits, they're making more money than the individual agent. They're working their ass off. I mean, Arthur Simons is watching this. I mean, this dude, he works his ass off, right? Elizabeth works her ass off. Brian Murray works a ton, right? I mean, he's got a I think his son Noah's 2. I think he's a little bit younger than my son. But he's got a wife at home and a 2-year-old. I mean, that's going to be tough, right? David Bentnick, they're all working their ass off. Everyone else. We've got newer agents like Kakoa who's buying in 75 days in, already has 2 deals under contract, all Facebook, 2 Facebook leads. So,
awesome.
They drop their ego to join a team.
Yep.
And if, let's say that us 3 were looking at merging our businesses together as well,
we would crush everybody.
We would crush it. But 2, that's all of us dropping our egos.
Yeah.
So if I'm asking someone to join my team and truly look at that opportunity, just like I was looking at some expansion partners for us to join, I said the same thing. I'm asking my agents or potential recruits to be open-minded, but I'm not open-minded if one of y'all came to me, or Chris Suarez's team from Experience came to me, or Ben Kinney or whoever.
Yep.
No, that's being a hypocrite then.
Absolutely.
So we can't be hypocritical, of I can't even say that fucking word. But we can't, we need to walk the walk.
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of the day, if we're going to be true leaders, we're going to have to be able to have that open mindset, drop our ego, and make sure it's about our agents.
Well, yeah. I mean, this I'll give you a good example that we've talked about before, right? We do our office, and most offices, I think, across the country do some sort of business planning clinic or something, usually in October or so of every year, where they set goals for the next year. And everybody has just obviously these monster goals for next year that they may or may not have any chance of attaining whatsoever. And I would say usually they don't have any chance of attaining them only because they have no strategic plan for how to accomplish anything that they're doing, right? If I sold 10 deals this year and I want to go out and do 50 deals next year, but I don't have a system as to not just the lead generation part of it, but where's my first assistant going to come from? What are going to be my standards and policies and procedures, right? How am I going to start to expand in that way, right? What are the lead sources am I going to bring in? How am I going to just lay a foundation that's scalable for my entire business? That's really the reason people don't make it to the next level, is because you can't usually just keep doing more of what you're doing and become more successful doing it. You've got to change. You've got to leverage yourself. You've got to create systems somehow, right? And so I would say if you got into real estate with a major vision for your life, right? And a major vision meaning you didn't get into this to do it part-time and do 6 deals a year and just have some spending money. If you got into this to really accomplish something, but you don't have a clear strategic plan that you can articulate for your growth, and you can't submit to me, a 20-page or however long it is business plan on exactly what your growth is going to look like and how you're going to get there, don't be too afraid or ashamed to go hitch your thing to a team or a wagon that is already headed in that right direction, so at least you can learn for 2 or 3 years what the hell it is that you're doing. Because more than anything, and I've been on a team before I started my own, and I learned a tremendous amount. It was responsible for a lot of my success later on because I got a ton out of it just as far as how to build a business, right? And it's just, a lot of this stuff cannot, for a lot of people, you can't do it on your own. You're talking about building a really, really big company for a lot of these people to accomplish their goals. It's not something you can usually just build from the ground up overnight. You're either going to struggle for years, but why do that, right? Like, model yourself after somebody, and that usually means partnering with them at least for a while so that you can learn that, what the heck you're doing. And you'll be leaps and bounds ahead of the people that cared more about their personal brand than about, really seeing that vision through.
And I don't know if Nick ever did, but part of my original real estate journey, how I got out of bartending and got into real estate full time, I bridged that gap by being an assistant to, they're called Right House Realty now. They're with Compass, but at the time there was a different group. Donald Wright, Mike Castle, Ross Spencer. Like, I'll give them a huge shout out. Those guys taught me so much shit in the 9 months that I was with them. And, I got fired / quit because it was a brutal environment because they were really busy. And that assistant role was incredibly imperative to the client experience that they were able to provide. But also those guys teaching you how to negotiate contracts and learn all of that stuff. I hear agents all the time talk about the way to negotiate contracts. I'm like, bro, I would kick that repair amendment back to you in 2 seconds. They send such horseshit emails and terrible repair amendments. And it's like, dude, this is that's just not the way to run a business. And it's not because they're stupid. They've never been taught any better.
Well,
right?
and my story's the same. I was delivering pizzas in college, and the gas prices were going up, and so started eating into the profit. Yeah. And so there was an ad at our college saying they were looking for an assistant, and I interviewed and got the job, and it was a part-time role. It was like 20 hours a week. They were growing too. They hadn't even closed. I think their goal that year was 52 closings, which was 1 a week, right? And I'm like, that sounds like a shit ton, right? And so I got the job, and then started doing like their mail outs and answering their phones. And then I became a showing assistant before showing assistant was even a term. Right. So I got licensed. They talked me. They suggested I get licensed so I could do some of those activities, and still working part time. And then I finished college, and they offered me a full-time salary. And at that point, that was in 2007. At that point, I asked them. I said, "Hey, you guys are making great money. Can I make great money? Can I make 6 figures?" Right? I'm sure, Brian and Matt, when you were doing your recruiting, how many times is that someone's income goal?
Every time.
Every time.
Almost 100%.
Yeah. Almost 100% of the time, everyone wants to make that 6-figure mark. And so they're like, "Yeah, absolutely, you can make it." So I turned down the full-time salary, went full-time with them as a 100% commission licensed agent, and did not make 6 figures. No. And so what I learned from them, though, it was valuable. I learned the relationship because they were big on referrals, and they dominated in the farming market area. Yeah. I think they had at one time 40% market share in their neighborhood. Wow. They were amazing at that. So I got to learn that. And then what I also realized is that they didn't have 100% of the training because they were a small brokerage. It wasn't designed to bring a lot of people on. Right. And so I joined Keller Williams in 2007 and started learning the other parts of the business. Mm-hmm. And from there, that's where everything started to grow. But I'm grateful for them because I wouldn't be where I am without them and what they poured into me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot more agents need to hear that, because we get caught up in what we see other agents posting on Facebook, right? Like, we all post stuff on Facebook. We have a million real estate agent friends. I know for the most part the people in our market who are really doing stuff and the ones who are just Facebook flashy, right?
Yep.
Like, so don't get caught up in that. And you're talking about financial goals. Until you make $75,000 a year, don't make a goal larger than that, right? Like, just stop. You don't need to jump 4 pay grades in 1 year, first off, right? You probably wouldn't know what to do with the extra money. You end up doing some dumb shit.
Well,
with
and you'll
it.
quit.
Yeah,
is the thing.
exactly. You'll think it's that easy.
My income goal, when I sat down with our broker the first time I ever went to the office in 2011 or something,
$1 million.
right? No, I just wanted to make. He asked me how much I need to make. I said I make about $27,000 a year bartending. So if I could double that and make $50,000, which isn't double, I've realized now. That's
really bad at
not
math.
great at math. I'd be really happy, you know. And I think, I mean, I don't want to say that's. It's weird to say don't have huge goals because that's going to make you success. Like, that's such a weird thing to say. What I am going to say is, if your goals do not line up with like a strategic, like a very clear-cut strategic vision for your life, then have smaller goals that do line up in the short term, right? Like, I only want to make $50,000. If I only made $50,000 a year now, I'd be fleeing the country because I'd be in debt up to my eyeballs, right? But back then, that's all I needed, and I knew exactly what I was going to do with that $50,000, right? Now we have goals every single year that are larger and larger, but I know exactly what I'm going to do with the money that I make. I know where I'm going to invest it, what that's ultimately leading to, right? Like, we don't have every year, every October we don't have a business planning clinic, and I go, I'm going to make $6 million next year, right? Because I wouldn't even know what I would do with that yet, right?
And it's just silly, right? Like,
Well, I might have some idea, right? But you're right. It's just silly, right? If we get in to, if I'm hell bent on making $1 million a year next year, and we get halfway through and I've only made 100,000, like, that's going to be an emotional blow to me. That's still a hell of a lot of money, and I'm still on pace to make a lot of money. But if you do back that down, right, and my income goal is just I need to make $100,000, but I've never made even 50 in my life before. When I get into April and I'm struggling and I'm not on pace to really make it, like, it's harder to get up in the morning.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And that comes down to, look, it's the Grant Cardone book, 10X.
Right.
He talks about in that book of, if you're going to set your goal, set it big, 10 times what your normal goal is. So if you want to make 100,000, set it for $1 million. Right. And even if you come up short by 50%, you're making 500,000. That's great in theory.
Yeah.
But most people have the mental toughness of a fucking banana.
That's the problem.
Right? I get where Grant Cardone is going with that. I think it's dumb as shit in real life for most people.
Yeah. Because when they're behind on their goals, what do? They want to pull the covers over their head, not get out, because they can't close the door right now, and they're not making any money, or they're making 10,000-15,000, and they're so far behind on hitting their $100,000 goal. They're like, what's the point of this?
Right.
For us, we have a 7-figure passive goal. My brother and I, if we don't hit that, is it going to stop us from investing? No, we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
But you guys are different, and we're different, right? Like. And I'll just say that sounds like such a snobby and condescending thing to say. The 10X Grant Cardone thing works for people that are just fundamentally like unbelievably high Ds that are going to do whatever it takes no matter what, just because they don't need another reason, right? Like, I'll just tell you, like, one of the reasons I work hard and I get up, and like, all 5 of us, or 5 of us, all 4 of us, 3 of us. Man, I'm so bad at math. All 3 of us.
Now he can't even add.
All 3 of us get up, so early in the morning and do what we do. And this is what I tell the team. That was not made up, by the way. I'm so sorry. I can't count. No, I mean, I tell the team this. Like, one of the reasons that we do what we do every day is, like, I don't really need a reason to. Like, if you want to be a badass, just do badass shit every day, right? Like, and that's going to work for some people, right? Like, if you want to 10X your goal and just go after it at all costs, no matter what, just because you want to, because that's what you want for yourself, that's going to work for a lot of people. You're going to have the right sort of disc profile and the right personality to not quit when it gets hard. But quite honestly, like, I don't have a lot of a rhyme or reason for why I do what I do in my life, right? Like, I'm married, but we have no kids. I have a really small nut as far as my financial, thermostat and things like that. I work my ass off simply because I like being better than everybody at what I do in my life. And, like, that's super selfish. But if you don't have that mindset, have better goals, because just multiplying them by 10, you'll probably quit at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like-
And I know it's some kind of tiny little like half-ass douche in Dallas. I shouldn't say this, but like that whole brand of marketing and like guru guy wears me out anyways.
Yeah,
right? Like I'm just like, okay, dude. I hear what you're saying. If I could get up and do that tomorrow, I don't have to hear your ass do it. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Well, tomorrow I expect us to 10x all of our goals
Oh, yeah.
for this podcast. So
sure.
we need to do a show every day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
I do not think people want to. It was hard enough to come up and sit here and bullshit for 45 minutes, much less come up
Yeah.
for stuff every single day.
100%.
Once a
dude.
week, and that again, that goes back to, you know, when we were talking yesterday about making sure we're providing valuable content to you. So drop a comment down below. Let us know what's valuable to you. I mean, you know, some of the things that we were going to hit, you know, when we went into a different direction about ego and still going back to motivation and mindset, which is everything in life.
Yeah.
Let's here's the thing. For full transparency, from now on, every podcast is somehow going to go back to mindset and motivation.
And we don't even mean that to happen. It just literally is the biggest thing you have
This
to
is
overcome.
all it is, man.
Every guest is going to tell you to follow up. Every time we do a podcast, we're going to tell you to pick your bitch ass up and get back to work.
I mean,
So we talked about follow-up was a problem that Matt's having right now.
Yeah.
You know, because he's setting so many appointments, first
Yeah.
world real estate problems.
It
He's
really
setting
is.
so many follow-ups or so many appointments. He's not being effective in his follow-up. That was something we were going to hit on today.
That's not providing value. Let's leave that for another episode. We'll talk about Matt dropping the ball.
we'll talk about that more, maybe next week.
Yeah. So Matt dropping the ball next week.
Yeah,
But drop comments down below. Let us know what we can cover, because if you're having that problem, more than likely we are. My business is down 14% compared to last year.
Yeah.
But my listings taken are right on track. So that means my listings, just like I've said in the past, my listings aren't selling fast enough. So we pick up the buyer game,
Yeah.
which we're doing. We're still up in the buyer business. So it's if I had a shitty mindset, I would be just, you know, I would be wanting to shut everything down.
Yeah.
And we're not. And we're, you know, talking about stepping up in leadership and taking step roles back in leadership.
Yep.
You know, that was something we were going to talk about today. So we'll hit that on the next topics. And, you know, we are excited that, you know, we are now, you know, we want to start talking a little bit about RedX and what RedX can do for your business. So be on the lookout for that. So if you're calling expireds or for sale buyers or circle prospecting, you know, we've got a great product for you with.
Yeah, send us a message, because we, like I said, we got something I think can help agents who are trying to get into that at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So drop a heart, drop a comment, drop a thumbs up, and then on iTunes, leave us a review,
Yeah.
subscribe. YouTube, make a comment. We read all the comments on there and respond back. And subscribe, and then share this with other agents. So, you know, we'll talk about what our future plan is with starting. We've got a private group going that we're going to start sharing content in
Yep.
on really getting more granular and helping our businesses grow, which in turn will help your business grow.
And we're going to go live in there, like whenever we have stuff come up. So you're going to get a little bit more raw, uncut stuff as if it's needed.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know.
Yeah,
so
but
we'll
we
do
can
that.
spend more time in there. So drop a thumbs up if you're interested in joining that group.
Yep.
And then send us a message, and then go ahead and tag an agent. If you tag an agent there, we'll get you in that group right away.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. Awesome. All right, boys. Well, until next week, it's been amazing hanging out with you.
Yeah, guys. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, like I see you every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Derek. Take us out, my friend. We're consistently hanging out.